Okay, I want to say hello everybody, welcome to this video. We are now going to read chapter 5, okay, of Krishnamurti's wonderful book, The First and Last Freedom. And I'm here, I've got my setup here with my webcam so I can move me around. I don't know if you can see my camera there on the screen. How you doing? Yeah, I'm just going to move it across. I think this is a really good way to do it because it's going to be nice and convenient using my computer with the webcam and the microphone. Hopefully it's nice and clear. So let's just, look together, and I'm going to start reading now. Okay, chapter 5. Get comfortable, get a nice cup of tea or coffee, whatever you want to do. Please go to the subscribe. Yeah, the subscribe button. Please do it if you like. I'll be happy if you can do that and let people know about the content. I'm sharing some, whatever I can share here, information, martial arts, philosophy, art, animation, music, short films, AI, self-help information. We're reading books. We've got a lot of content on this channel. And don't forget, you can also, as I say, go and check my other channels, which is Shenmue with Richard and Richard Plays Games. One channel is called Richard Plays Games, where you'll see me playing a lot of different games, old and new games now on there. But there's another channel called Shenmue with Richard, which is all dedicated to the Shenmue world of games, games in that series. Anyway, let's get straight to this. You're watching Richard Clark Ninja, aka my online name, which has always been Wushu Richard. Let's get straight to it. Chapter 5. Okay, chapter 5. Action and idea. Let's begin to read now. I should like to discuss the problem of action. This may be rather abstruse, excuse me, and difficult at the beginning, but I hope that by thinking it over, we shall be able to see the issue clearly, because our whole existence, our whole life, is a process of action. Most of us live in a series of actions, of seemingly unrelated, disjointed actions, leading to disintegration, to frustration. It is a problem that concerns each one of us because we live by action, and without action there is no life. There is no experience, there is no thinking. Thought is action, and merely to pursue action at one particular level of consciousness, which is the outer, merely to be caught up in outward action without understanding the whole process of action itself, will inevitably lead us to frustration, to misery. I'm reading a little bit fast, okay, because there's a lot to read. I've got a lot of things to do. I'm pretty busy, but I am focusing on it. I'm not trying to read faster than Johnny Five from Short Circuit 1 and 2, awesome movies, but we're just reading this clearly here, okay? So action and stuff like that, you're going to be focused with your head in the right place, because otherwise you make the wrong actions, you trip up, see, we start tripping. That's not good. Okay. If you don't understand anything, you can pause this or read it yourself, or listen to me back again. It's not about just reading, it's about thinking about what it is, not overthinking it, but analysing and studying it, you know what I mean? Same as if you're running, you don't want to just run for the sake of running. You've got to understand this is ground, and where the water begins, you just end up falling in the water, unless you can run on water. Our life is a series of actions. Let's go. Our life is a series of actions, or a process of action at different levels of consciousness. Consciousness is experiencing, naming and recording. That is consciousness is challenge and response, which is experiencing, then terming or naming, and then recording, which is memory. This process is action, is it not? Consciousness is action, and without challenge, response, without experiencing, naming or terming, without recording, which is memory, there is no action. Now, action creates the actor. That is, the actor comes into being when action has a result, an end in view. Okay. If there is no result in action, okay, if there is no result in action, then there is no actor. But if there is an end or a result in view, then action brings about the actor. Thus, actor, action, and end or result is a unitary process, a single process, which comes into being when action has an end in view. Action towards a result is will. Otherwise, there is no will, is there? Is there? The desire to achieve an end brings about will, which is the actor. I want to achieve. I want to write a book. I want to be a rich man. I want to paint a picture. We are familiar with these three states: the actor, the action, and the end. That is our daily existence. I am just explaining what is, but we will begin to understand how to transform what is only when we examine it clearly, so that there is no illusion or prejudice, no bias with regard to it. Now, these three states which constitute experience, the actor, the action, and the result, are surely a process of becoming. Otherwise, there is no becoming, is there? If there is no actor, and if there is no action towards an end, there is no becoming. But life as we know it, our daily life, is a process of becoming. I am poor, and I act with an end in view, which is to become rich. I am ugly, and I want to become beautiful. Therefore, my life is a process of becoming something. The will to be is the will to become, at different levels of consciousness, in different states, in which there is challenge, response, naming and recording. Now, this becoming is strife. This becoming is pain, is it not? It is a constant struggle. I am this, and I want to become that. Therefore, then, the problem is there not action without this becoming? Is there not action without this pain, without this constant battle? If there is no end, there is no actor, because action without end in view creates the actor. So with an end in view creates the actor. But can there be an action without an end in view, and therefore no actor? That is, without the desire for a result. Such an action is not a becoming, and therefore not a strife. There is a state of action, a state of experiencing, without the experiencer and the experience. This sounds rather philosophical, but it is really quite simple. In the moment of experiencing, you are not aware of yourself as the experiencer, apart from the experience. You are in a state of experiencing. My video is just frozen. Please excuse me that on my screen it's showing up as frozen. I don't know. Okay, where are we? Hold on. It says the experiencer. Yeah, you are in a state of experiencing. Take a very simple example. You are angry. In that moment of anger, there is neither the experiencer nor the experience. Okay, let's continue. It says, so, for example, okay, you are angry. In that moment of anger, there is neither or neither the experiencer nor the experience. There is only experiencing. Yeah. But the moment you come out of it, a split second after the experiencing, there is the experiencer and the experience, the actor and the action, with an end in view, which is to get rid of or to suppress the anger. We are in this state repeatedly, in the state of experiencing, but we always come out of it and give it a term, naming and recording it, and thereby giving continuity to becoming. If we can understand action in the fundamental sense of the word, then that fundamental understanding will affect our superficial activities also. But first, we must understand the fundamental nature of action. Now, is action brought about by an idea? Do you have an idea first and then act afterwards? Or does action come first and then, because action creates conflict, you build around it an idea? Does action create the actor, or does the actor come first? It is very important to discover which comes first. If the idea comes first, then action merely conforms to an idea. and therefore it is no longer action but imitation, compulsion, according to an idea. It is very important to realize this, because as our society is mostly constructed on the intellectual or verbal level, the idea comes first with all of us and action follows. Action is then the handmaid of an idea. And the mere construction of ideas is obviously detrimental to action. Ideas breed further ideas, and when there is merely the breeding of ideas, there is antagonism, and society becomes top-heavy. What's that say? Top-heavy with the intellectual process of ideation. Our social structure is very intellectual. We are cultivating the intellect at the expense of every other factor of our being, and therefore we are suffocated with ideas. Can ideas ever produce action, or do ideas merely mould thought and therefore limit action? When action is compelled by an idea, action can never liberate man. It is extraordinarily important for us to understand this point. If an idea shapes action, then action can never bring about the solution to our miseries, because before it can be put into action. Before it can be put into action, we have first to discover how the idea comes into being. The investigation of ideation, of the building up of ideas, whether of the socialists, the capitalists, the communists, or of the various religions, it is of utmost importance, especially when our society is at the edge of a precipice, inviting another catastrophe, another excision. Those who are really serious in their intention to discover the human solution to our many problems must first understand this process of ideation. Okay. What do we mean by an idea? How does an idea come into being? And can idea and action be brought together? Suppose I have an idea and I wish to carry it out. I seek a method of carrying out that idea. And we speculate, waste our time and energies in quarrelling over how the idea should be carried out. So it is really very important to find out how ideas come into being. And after discovering the truth of that, we can discuss the question of action. Without discussing ideas, merely to find out how to act has no meaning. Now, how do you get an idea? A very simple idea. It need not be philosophical, religious, or economic. Obviously, it is a process of thought, is it not? Idea is the outcome of a thought process. Without a thought process, there can be no idea. So I have to understand the thought process itself before I can understand its product, the idea. What do we mean by thought? When do you think? Obviously, thought is the result of a response, neurological or psychological, is it not? It is the immediate response of the senses to a sensation. Or it is psychological, the response of stored up memory. There is the immediate response of the nerves to a sensation. And there is the psychological response of stored up memory, the influence of race, group, guru, family, tradition, and so on, all of which you call thought. So the thought process is the response of memory, is it not? You would have no thought if you had no memory. And the response of memory to attain certain experience brings the thought process into action. Say, for example, if I have the stored up memories of nationalism, calling myself a Hindu, that reservoir of memories of past responses, actions, implications, traditions, customs responds to the challenge of a Muslim, a Buddhist, or a Christian, and the response of memory to the challenge inevitably brings about a thought process, which the thought process operating in yourself. Watch the thought process operating in yourself, and you can test the truth of this directly. You have been insulted by someone, and that remains in your memory. It forms part of the background. When you meet the person, which is the challenge, the response is the memory of that insult. So the response of memory, which is the thought process, creates an idea. Therefore, the idea is always conditioned. And this is important to understand. This is to say, the idea is the result of the thought process. The thought process is the response of memory, and the memory is always conditioned. Memory is always in the past, and the memory is given life. So again. Memory is always in the past. Okay? And the memory is given life in the present by a challenge. Memory has no life in itself. It comes to life in the present when confronted by a challenge. And all memory, whether dormant or active, is conditioned. Is it not? Okay. All right, back. So I had to stop the video sometime. We can come back and continue, yeah? Let's go. Therefore, there has to be quite a different approach. You have to find out for yourself inwardly whether you are acting on an idea, and if there can be action without ideation. Let us find out what that is. Action which is not based on an idea. When do you act without ideation? When is there an action which is not the result of experience? An action based on experience is, as we said, limiting and therefore hindrance. Action which is not the outcome of an idea is spontaneous, and the thought process, which is based on an experience, is not controlling action. It's a distraction, right? They're taking your mind elsewhere. Okay. Which means that there is action independent of experience when the mind is not controlling action. Right. That is the only state in which there is understanding, when the mind based on experience is not guiding action, when thought based on experience is not shaping action. What is action? When there is no thought, what is action? When there is no thought process, can there be an action? Can there be action without thought process? This is I want to build a bridge, a house. I know the technique, and the technique tells me how to build it. We call that action. There is the action of writing a poem, of painting, of governmental responsibilities, of social environmental responsibilities. All are based on an idea of previous experience shaping action. But is there an action when there is no ideation? Surely there is an action when the idea ceases. And the idea ceases only when there is love. Love is not memory. Love is not experience. Love is not the thinking about the person that one loves. For them it is merely thought. You cannot think of love. You cannot think of the person you love or are devoted to, your guru, your image, your wife, your husband. But the thought, the symbol, is not the real, which is love. Therefore, love is not an experience. When there is love, there is action, is there not? And is that action not liberating? It is not the result of mentation, and there is no gap between love and action, as there is between idea and action. Idea is always old, casting its shadow on the present, and we are ever trying to build a bridge between action and idea. When there is love, which is not mentation, which is not ideation, which is not memory, which is not the outcome of an experience, of a practice discipline, then that very love is action. That is the only thing that frees. So long as there is mentation, so long as there is the shaping of action by an idea which is experience, there can be no release. And so long as that process continues, all action is limited. When the truth of this is seen, the quality of love, which is not mentation, which you cannot think about, comes into being. One has to be aware of this total process of how ideas come into being, how action springs from ideas, and how ideas control action and therefore limit action depending on sensation. It doesn't matter whose ideas they are, whether from the left or from the extreme right. Or extreme left. So long as we cling to ideas, we are in a state in which there can be no experiencing at all. Yeah. Then we are merely living in the field of time in the past, which gives further sensation, or in the future, which is another form of sensation. It is only when the mind is free from idea that there can be experiencing. Ideas are not truth, and truth is something that must be experienced directly from moment to moment. It is not an experience which you want, which is then merely sensation. Only when one can go beyond the bundle of ideas, which is the me, which is the mind, which is a partial or complete continuity, only when one can go beyond that, when thought is completely silent, is there a state of experiencing. Then one shall know what truth is. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video. Sorry for reading very fast. Sorry for not stopping and looking at things. I didn't want to talk too much or share too many of my views, you know. As you can see, next chapter we're going to read is chapter 6, which is belief. Also very interesting. In the next video we will be reading that, okay. But today we read this one. So we read, how many pages is a chapter? Let's look roughly. So this is a part of a page, half a page. So let's have a look. So we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, 7 pages, roughly per chapter, something like that. 6 or 7 pages. So we've finished reading chapter 5, Action and Idea, from Krishnamurti's book, Jiddu Krishnamurti, The First and Last Freedom. Please go back and watch my other videos. I don't make these every day, but some days I just choose and I decide to read more because it's very interesting. He's a very deep thinker. He's very clear, very smart and intelligent. He always was. I mean, you know, his words are profound. He's a very, very intelligent person. He was. But of course, I've got various views on certain things. So there are certain things that I would say maybe a bit more. I would look into a little bit more from my angle and say things a bit differently. Not to go against, but like to look at something else. But this is basically what it is. You look more into things, and then you'll have a different expression later. I think overall, this whole thing is very true, what he's saying. But this particular chapter is different as such. I personally, if you want me to share my views, what I think about, you know, mind and action, you know, he's talking about, you know, where is it? The like, basically thought and action, the action and idea, right? Exactly, idea and action. He's saying about the idea coming first. I mean, what is an action without ideas? You could say that, you know. I think the question is not to say let's just do things blindly, let's just do things without thinking it through. I think it's like we've got to understand what we're thinking. That's what study our ideas. Even the action of the thought processes which came towards an idea. It's like when you come to a certain point, a certain idea, which is your limitation, whether it's because that's how much you know about something and you know no more about it, or whether it's that for some reason or other you've come to the end of it, you've come to this conclusion, okay, you've decided to work from this. It's like you've got to begin somewhere, right? You could always say, well, we can think more hard, we can continue to move on and study more about this before I commit to doing this action, okay? Acting, I think then the thing would be you might never get it done. But it's like this, the action itself, or even just coming to that conclusion that I'm ready now, I'm limited but I know enough kind of thing. You say, what's that? I know enough even though I don't know enough. It's like a contradiction, it's like a confusion there, and you act off of confusion always, see? But it's like experience is true, the reality of things, how they really are, and experience in action, you find by doing it. If you're thinking too much elsewhere, sometimes it's a totally different story from the road you're actually walking or the water you're swimming in. But it's like if you overthink or underthink or, overstep or understep, it's always like too much or too less. And too less, so I'm just saying, it could always be like you're thinking too much or doing too much, or thinking too less or doing too less. And either could hinder the other. And the less and the more are always like the same thing. It's not the thing itself. You could see the action as the thought as the action, or the idea. It's all one thing. It's like the reality or the beliefs in someone's mind, the thinking, the believing, and then there's the real reality. They're two different things, you see. It's not I believe I'm holding a cup of tea, so therefore I am. No, I'm really holding this cup of tea. It's just here. It doesn't matter what I believe. If I believe this is the king's cup, and this tea was made from the finest tea bags in the Magic Kingdom, then I might believe that. You see, belief is a distraction. Language, thought, words, imagery in your mind, symbolization, emotion, all of these things are a distraction. It's through cluttered mind states and emotional messy thinking, which has been the process to get you to a conclusion where, okay, now with hesitation as your as your haste in rushing to take an action, like you're hesitating, like to do things more carefully or look into things more, and you want to just hurry up and do it now. So there's a slowing down when you're speeding up. So when you're speeding up, you're slowing down. See what I'm saying? So when you make action, you slow down and stop your thought. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. So ultimately, you've got to have everything as one. It should be an experience, a vision, not just with eyes, but with the whole vision of your whole sensory, receiving as doing, as one thing. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Now, all the talk in the world doesn't do much. Doesn't matter which way you say it, or who writes the book. You sit there reading a book all day. What really matters is, first, valuing yourself and respecting the cells and atoms of your body, your actual self that you have in this health of the mind and body. And then how you breathe and walk, what you eat, drink, when you sleep, how much you can try and sleep for, exercise for, do things that please you, and avoid dangers. The human being must be clear. His mind should be learning from the physical body, I say, and he should be learning from the things in the world which are either good for him or bad for him, on the planet Earth, under the clouds we're walking on, the ground, below them. Not in society, living like, you know, up to these ideals or these brainwashing ways of, you know, bamboozling nonsense, you know what I mean? Like this big, yeah, I can make it big, yeah? I can make it big. I can make it big. Is that how you gonna do? Oh, what I be saying when I do my little G. What you doing over there, man? You should come over here. You should get right here. So I'm in my red top with a Converse word on. I forgot what I was going to say. Listen to the air, listen to the wind blowing between your ears, if you will, as you scroll on your phone all day. It's like, hello? Yes, so take care, keep it real, man. I'm going to stop this one here. We're going to get on to chapter 6, which is just belief, in another video, okay? I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, we're doing more reading. We're reading more books as well, as I say. Yeah. Alright. Thanks for watching. Take care. Subscribe, please. Hit the subscribe button. The red should remind you. More videos to come, more fun stuff to come as well, yeah? So in terms of different types of content, lots of things on the way.